Okay, dear friends, welcome to this third chapter of the series, The ABC of Git, that yet another channel for tech brings to you. Do you remember that in the last chapter we learned how to create a repo in our local computer, how to commit changes, we added a readme file to a repo, then after we created our GitHub account we managed to create a repo in our GitHub account and then set this at the remote origin for our local repo and then be able to push the changes. But also we mentioned that we were doing something that is not recommended. We were committing changes to the master branch directly. And in this chapter, we are going to learn how to create branches to have independent versions of the code, then commit changes to that branch, push the changes to the remote origin, and then we will be able to create a pull request that will allow us to work collaboratively with other developers. We can have comments, we can have reviews, we can request changes, and ultimately we can get approval to merge the changes into the master branch. So let's see how it goes. Okay, here we are in the local computer where we had the repo that we created, this tutorial-en folder. Here we have the readme file and the .git folder that indicates that this is a GitHub repo. We have also opened the Visual Studio Code. You can see that we only have the readme.md file, and inside of it you can see the markdown that we added with the commits that we did. I am going to close this folder here in the Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to deliberately delete this folder here. We are not losing anything with this. Let's go to the GitHub portal with our account, and then let's go to the tutorial-en repo that we created. The source code or the changes that we did are still here. So you notice that we have a green button here that says code. If you click it, you will see several options. You can download the code in a zip folder. You can also use GitHub Desktop to open this repo. In this case, let's focus on this. We have an HTTPS URL. This is, remember that when we first created the repo, it showed us this URL. This is the URL for the remote origin of our repo. We also have the SSH. You can also use SSH to interact with this repo, but in this case, as HTTPS is the most widely used manner to interact with repo, let's stick to it. So what we're going to do, we want to get this repo again in our local computer, and for that we come here and copy this HTTPS URL that we had. Then we go to our git bash. Let's navigate to that folder that we had, that is git.en, and here we are going to use a new GitHub command, that is git clone, and with this we paste the URL of our remote origin, press enter, and with this we are creating a copy or cloning the repo that we have in the remote origin in our local computer. See that the folder tutorial-en appears and we have the readme file. Let's open this folder again with the Visual Studio Code and see what's inside. File, open folder, and we navigate to .en tutorial-en, and we see that we have the same repo that we just deleted. So now what is the procedure we will follow to create new branches and work in the manner that we should work and not committing changes directly into the master? Well, we have several ways to do it. Let me first show you. If you want to see the branch in which you are currently placed in this Git, obviously you can see it directly here in the bash that we are in the master branch. But if you write the command git branch, it will tell you that you are in the master branch. Now, a repo can have several branches. This repo in particular doesn't have any other branches. Let's see that if you type git branch -a, it should show you the different branches that you have in this repo. Notice that these branches that are in red are like hidden branches that the system use. The branches that you actually use are those in master. And how do then create a new branch? Well, we type the same command git branch, and in this case you type the name of your branch, my branch. And if we repeat, there we have created a branch called my-branch. If you repeat the command git branch -a, you're going to see that you have my branch here created, and it's not highlighted, the text is white. Now we can notice that we still are in master here because the bash is indicating me that I am in the master branch. So how do we change from the master branch to my branch so we can confidently make changes? With that, we use the command git checkout. In this case, we will have to say I want to check out to my dash branch. And with this, notice that the bash said that we were in the master branch, and it's not saying that we are in my branch. So the changes that we made and we commit to the my branch will be independent of the changes that we make in the master branch. We can always go back to the master just by typing git checkout master and see that it changes to master. And I did this because I want to show you there is another way in which we can fastly change from one branch to another. That is, if we say git checkout with the modifier -b and we provide the name of another branch, let's type another branch, you will see that we change to another branch. And if we type the command git branch -a, we will see that we have another branch, master, and my branch. Those are the branches that we have created in this repo. So let's go back to the my branch, that is the one that we can work with any of the branches that we created except master, but let's go to my branch. That is the one that we created. We can observe that we check it out, the my branch from the another branch. Something important is this checkout command. What does is change the content of the files that are being tracked by Git to the different versions that you can have in the different branches. We're going to see that shortly because we will introduce some changes in some files, and you will see that when we check out a branch that doesn't contain those changes will disappear. So let's exactly do that. Now I want to come here to this repo. In the root of the repo, I want to add a folder. I'm going to call this a program because this is like if we were creating a software here. Then I'm going to add a file here that we can call a program.cpp. Let's suppose that we are creating a C++ program. Then we have we can type here include or numeral include iostream or iostream, and then we can say void main. And with this, we have done a declaration of a C++ function. Let's for now overlook this error that the Visual Studio Code is highlighting, because we're not really implementing a software here. We just want to show you how Git handles these changes. So if we come here to the source control icon, you can see that we have changes in our repo. You can open this and you can see that this shows you what things changed. In this case, we added these new lines to the repo. And now let's commit these changes into this branch. We need to pass all those changes to the staging area. Let's do that by typing the command git add --all. Do you remember that we used this command? And the changes are now in the staging area. So let's now commit the changes with the command git commit -m and added cpp program. And with this, we will commit the changes. Now we have the changes committed, but in my branch. Observe something. We are here, and in the file explorer, you see that we have the program folder and the program.cpp file. Now let's check out the master branch and see what happens. See that the folder and the file disappear. That is because we are checking out the version of the source code that is in master, and that doesn't contain the folder, the program folder, and the program.cpp file. We can always go back to my branch and you will see the files appearing. We can also use another command here to see the differences that we have in this branch with a master branch. To do that, we use a command that is git diff. If we type git diff without any argument, it won't show anything. We have to specify we want to see the difference with the master branch, and it will show you some information. Here we're saying that diff, we have the file that is program.cpp, and it highlights the changes. It says that we have added to the program.cpp these lines of code that are in green. The lines, if you remove some lines of code, those will be shown in red. So now we see that we have a difference here between this my branch and the master branch. Now remember that the last thing we did with after committing the changes in the repo was to pushing the changes to the remote origin, but in this case remember that as my branch is a new branch, we need to let's type that again just to see how it goes. This is git push origin, and it will tell us that we don't have any upstream branch, so we can copy this and paste this here, and with that we have set the upstream branch for this new my branch. Now we come here, and if we reload this, notice that these branches now says that we have two branches. If we click here, we can see that you have the master branch and my branch. Obviously it will show you it repeated because it says your branches that were created by the user that is logged in, and active branches, the branches that are currently active, because you can also delete a branch. If we go back, you can see something else. Here, when GitHub detects that you have pushed changes to a new branch, the normal flow is that you will want to merge those changes, create a pull request to merge those changes into master. So it's saying that, hey, you want to create, compare the branches and create a pull request. Let's click this direct access that Git provides. This is the way, and see that it's saying we open a pull request. This is the way that we usually open a pull request. You can add a description of the pull request, and you can leave comment in the. This is very important to add comments to the pull request that we create, because with this, the developers, the peers, or the other people that may be working collaboratively with us in this pull request will have information about what we wanted to do with the changes we're introducing here. So with this PR, we added a program folder and a program.cpp file to demonstrate how to create a PR. Okay, down here we can see that we see the commits that we will be including in this pull request, because we can have several commits. We can do an experiment a bit later with this, but in this case we only have the commit that the message that we added to the command was added CPP program. Also, you can see the changes that you introduced in the files. In this case, just this program/program.cpp file changed. You can see here that you have two different options in which you can see the changes, split or unified. When you select unified, this is because this is a new file. You will see only the newly added lines to the file, but in the case that you have changed files, you will see the line that changed how it was before and how it is now in the same view. If you say split the changes, you will see in the left side the latest version or the previous version of the file that changed, and in the right you're going to see the new version, the latest version of the file with the changes that you are committing in this case. So with this we are ready, and we can click the create pull request, and then a new pull request will be created. What you can see here is that you have a conversation in which, as we have mentioned this before, people can come here and say common things. You have also the ability to see the commits, right? That the commits that you introduced for these changes. These checks is in the case that you have GitHub actions or you have linterns. That is out of scope, but there are some checks that some repo might require to be passed before merging. And in the files changed, that is the place that we usually should go to review the code, you see the same thing, the difference between the older version and the newer version of the files that we are changing with this pull request.
All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
When you come here, you can add comments. For example, if you see when you hover over the different lines of the file that changed, that this can be in the right or the left side, you can add a comment here. And you can say, for example, this is the main function. Obviously, in this case, we are logged in into this Git account with the same user that created the pull request, and it doesn't make much sense that yourself make comments over you. You can always do that, but the idea of this is that other peers might review your code and check if you have done like everything correctly, or they can see that you are doing something in not an appropriate manner, so they will ask you to introduce changes or to fix some issues that may have the code may have. In this case, we can add a single comment and that's valid, but usually other developers will come and see these same things, and the idea would be like, for example, he comment says, let's delete this comment. Another peer can say here, hey, the return value of this main function is not void, it should be int, and I can say this function must return an int, not void. You can even give some styles to this. For example, I want to highlight this in bold. This user markdown, but you can use the toolbars that it provides to give the style, and you can even preview how the comment is going to see. And you can do two things: add a single comment or start a review. Start a review is when you are reviewing the code of another developer and you want to let him know that you are like suggesting changes. For example, here, if I start a review, you're going to see that here, if you come to this green button on the top right, you will see that it says finish your review. If you click that, it will open like this dialog, and in here you can leave a comment for the review that you did, and you can comment the review, you can approve or request changes. In this case, the comment or the approve and request changes options are not enabled because this is the same user that created that pull request, and in GitHub usually the same user that created the pull request won't be able to approve or request changes because that doesn't make any sense. But other reviewer can always approve or request changes to the pull request. In this case, let's just comment this, and you can see that in the conversation tab of this pull request view, we will see that the comments that the other users had added to your code or to your pull request will show here. And in this case, we can directly merge the pull request, but some repos, usually the repos are configured so until at least one approver hasn't given approval to the pull request, you cannot merge the changes. You can't configure that from this settings menu. It is out of scope to show you how to do that because that is a bit more advanced topic of GitHub, and usually the GitHub administrators set those rules, but in this case we have now activated the option of requesting an approver to merge the changes. So we can always go and merge the pull request. Let's suppose that we already, for example, in this case, let's do this exercise. As someone requested me that we should not have a void return type for this main function, we should change that as an int. Let's go quickly and change that in the code. So I can say here int main, and now we have changes. You can see that we changes the void to int. Let's commit the changes, git add, and in this case program.cpp. We want to add that file to the staging area. Now let's git commit the -m and change it main return type from void to int. We committed the changes, and now let's git push origin, and with this we have the changes here, and you can see that now we have, instead of void, so here it says that we still have the void, but if we come to the files changes, we can see that we have int. Something else that you should see is that you have two commits here. That is the added CPP program, and the last one that we just committed is changed main return time from void to int. You may wonder why you see this in void if we change that. This is because this have like a catch of the status of the code when the review was made, but you can also notice that it says that this comment is outdated. Why? Because the GitHub system detects that we made changes in the line that was commented. So that may imply that we already fixed the issue, and that the person that reviewed this must come and see if the things that changes now are good to go. So we can resolve this conversation by saying just change it and say resolve conversation, and you can see that even though you can still see the history of the things that we commented during the review, the conversation is closed. So now we can proceed to merge the pull request, and we can always change the message for the commit merge. In this case, let's leave that as it is and confirm the merge. So now we have merged. If we come here to the tutorial en, here we are in the master branch, you see, and you can see that we already have the program, and inside of it we have the program.cpp. This is in the remote origin. Now let's go back here and see if we check out the master branch, we will have the changes. You can see that surprisingly we don't have the changes here in the local master branch, and you may be wondering, how can I do to get these changes from the master branch, from the remote master branch to my local? Well, we use the command git pull. The git pull will bring all the changes that we have in the remote origin that are not in the local repo. You can see that it specifies that program/program.cpp file was added, and there were 5 insertions of lines in this file. So now we see that the folder appeared and the program.cpp file also appeared. So this is the way in which we can create a branch, make changes in that branch, push the changes to the remote origin, create a pull request. You saw that we can create comments, create reviews, and ultimately merge the changes into master, and then we come here to the local repo and we can pull the latest changes that were merged in the remote origin. This is the way that we should work. Usually when you work in a development environment with more colleagues, with more peers, with other developers, you will have to work this way and not committing changes directly into the master branch. Okay, so let's go very quickly over what we learned in this third chapter of the ABC of Git. Remember that we started deleting our repo, our local repo, and then using the git clone command, providing the URL of the remote origin of our repo, we were able to recover the content of our repo. Then we used the git branch command to see the branch in which we are located currently, see all the branches of the repo, and then we also created a new branch with this command. Then we saw the git checkout command that we can use to check out a new branch or also check out the content of an existing branch. We use the command get diff to see the difference between a branch and another branch. For example, we use this command to compare the current branch with the master branch. Then we went over the process of creating a pull request using the GitHub web interface. We saw how we create the pull request, how we add comments, how we see the different ways we can see the changes. Also, we saw how to add comments, start a review, and ultimately get approval to merge the changes into master. And finally, we saw the git pull command to bring all the changes that we had in the remote origin to the local repo. With this, we have gone a step further in the ABC of Git, but we still have a way to go. We need to learn how to resolve conflict. For example, when several developers are working in the same repo, it might happen that some modify the same file, and then we will have conflicts when trying to merge the changes. We will see that in the next chapter. Remember that if you liked the video, please share. If you have any suggestions, any comments, any concern, please leave those in the comments. I am Diego, this is yet another channel for tech, and see you in the next chapter.